Hello, you've reached Hacked Games. My name is Jeremy, and this is episode 5 of our Reformed Fiend playthrough of Pathfinder. So, last episode, we talked to a lot of people in this tavern here. This episode, we are going to kick off with the same thing. We're going to try to minimize that, though, so we can get onto the road and get doing some other things. What I will do is, every time we stop back, we'll try to have one or two more conversations just to spread those out amongst the episodes rather than having one episode focusing on all of them. The other thing we did is we did level up most of our characters. We did not level up Camellia, and the reason we didn't level her up is because I didn't really know what we were going to do with her. I figured out in the interim, I think what I'm going to do is I'm kind of going to chalk her up as a loss for this run. I am going to level her up to 4 and pick up Chant at 4. And then I did some kind of testing, and she does have access to the animal domain if we make her a cleric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make her a cleric. We're going to get her a pet that she can mount. And what I'd like to figure out is the overall mechanics of movement while you're on a mount. So Chant is an ability that takes a move action. I want to get her mounted up and have her automatically chanting, and then move around with her pet to see if the move action while mounted is the pet's move action or the rider's move action. If it's the pet's move action, she should be able to keep Chant up. If it's the rider's move action, obviously she will not. I do know that the amount of movement is based on the pet's amount of movement, but I don't know how the rider actions and pet actions interact, because it does seem like when you charge with a pet, you also take a charge action with the rider. You do not get your full round attack action. So let's get her through Spirit Hunter here. We're going to give her Trickery, and we're going to give her Perception. And then for a feat, I'm not going to take Fencing Grace. We will keep her with a rapier, so I'm going to take Weapon Focus. And now she's got the level 2 set of spells, and we'll make her one more level in Spirit Hunter. So, let's go talk to Anevia real quick here.
Let's head out.
Oh, I apologize. I did sell most of our stuff to Mr. Gemmel here, so we'll talk to him first. So, Gemmel, the medallion you're wearing, that's a sacred symbol, isn't it? Are you a cleric of Caden Kaleen? I'm a tavern keeper, best in the city, the best there's ever been, and I pray to the best god there is. Alright, well, are there any places in the city worth visiting? If you mean places that normal people usually stay well away from, then there are plenty. Like the Pataxian wine cellar. It once belonged to a Pataxian trading house, then King Iraveti came to power in Patax, and property started changing hands. Soon after, the cellar's shop assistant was found in a ditch. Not all of him, mind, just his head. Numerian gangsters had taken possession of the place. They wanted to sell something stronger than wine on the street, and they ended up on the gallows. Then King Iraveti's number was up, so now the store stands empty and unclaimed. People say that a headless ghost wanders the place at night, moaning ghoulishly, "Woo!" Just don't ask me how he makes any noise with no head. I wasn't there. I just felt like I heard it. Any news in the city? There are demons everywhere, and you shut up. How did you end up in a Crusader city? How did anyone end up here? How did you, or them? The world is big, but still there isn't place for everyone. People who no longer have a life anywhere else, they end up here. Well, who are you? Gemmel Hawks, vampire. Are you really a vampire? No. I see you're not one for talking. Gives a long, mournful look and says nothing. Let me see if we do have anything I missed selling in the inventory. I believe that... yeah, we're good.
Let us be careful.
So, now let's talk to Anevia. Then we will talk to Sela and Irabeth, and I believe after that we should be able to start going on our way here. Oh, Horgus is still here. We're going to talk to Horgus first. I have a job that would be perfect for someone like you. Naturally, I'll pay generously for your services. What do you mean, a job for someone like me? For an adventurer, ready to sell their soul for booze, and then lie down drunk in the gutter. Or do you think you're somehow different? A traveling knight, perhaps? Noble of heart, without a coin to your name. You seem reliable enough ally to me. And you did get me out of the mongrel caves, so why should I care what you do with my money once you got it? Succeeded a perception check. Horgus seems like one of those people who think the entire world owes them something. However, you hear notes of hysteria beneath his smug arrogance. It's as though he's really quite nervous, but taking great pains to conceal it. Noble birth doesn't give you the right to behave badly. I would ask that you refrain from such statements in the future. Oh, really? How impudent. No one dares tell Horgus Worm how to address the rabble. So, what does this job involve? You shall be my bodyguard. You see, I have good reason to return to my mansion here in Canabris. I still have... well, it doesn't matter. It's none of your business. My mansion is a breathtaking building with a large garden in the wealthy part of the city. Even before the demons attacked, every thief and fraudster in the city had tried to get inside, one way or another. I shudder to imagine the state it's in now. I have little hope that my guards were able to hold the mansion during the attack, and I expect that the servants fled when they saw the demons. Only Abadar knows what's happened there since. Therefore, I would ask that you meet me at my mansion and guard me until I complete my business. I already asked the local paladins for help, but they've no desire to set foot outside this tavern. Damn cowards and traitors, that's what they are. Also, please do take Camellia with you. I trust that girl more than the rest of your gang. She is of noble birth, after all. Well, what kind of a noble reward, or what kind of a reward are we talking about? 1,000 gold coins. So we are going to ask him to double it, and we'll think about it. We needed 12. We have failed. Ha! Yeah, right. For that kind of money, I could hire Queen Galfrey herself to guard me. 1,000 is my final offer. Well, I'm not interested then. Why do you refuse? You don't need the money? Perhaps it's not enough. Fine. I'll double the amount. Deal, that's what we asked for originally. Marvelous. Most excellent. I'll proceed to my mansion at once and wait for you there. Meanwhile, you needn't worry. I know the city like the back of my hand. But do hurry, unless you want me to lower your reward. Update to that quest. So, let's go see about Irabeth actually first. I want to just... Okay, I do have that. Any success? How was the city? What's our main objective? You heard what that demon said. They're going to desecrate the Wardstone and blow up the whole barrier around the World Wound. That would be an even worse disaster than the World Wound's expansion before the Second Crusade. Not only Canabris, but every city with a Wardstone will be destroyed, including the capital. We can't allow that, no matter what. We will retake it, even destroy it if we must. Iomede's gift must not become a weapon of the Abyss. These Wardstones, what are they? They are our greatest treasure, the shield given to us by Iomede herself, and placed in Canabris and other Mendevian cities and fortresses by her herald. The chain of Wardstones forms a protective barrier that stops the expansion of the World Wound and keeps the demons from moving beyond its borders. I shudder to think what will happen if that barrier falls. Tell me about the Eagle Watch. It was a small order, created to fight not only demons, but also the enemy within. To maintain the purity of the paladin ranks, prevent heresy, and identify spies. And it failed miserably at that. The Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth infiltrated it and formed their nest within its ranks. After the Queen entrusted me with leading the order, Anevia and I practically built it from scratch. We got rid of deadweight, people who weren't committed. We organized ways to transmit messages and orders safely. We introduced reliable ciphers. We found tacit allies around the city, from crusaders to street beggars. This was my personal crusade, to purge the city of the Templars who had infested it, and I thought I was winning. I could feel it. We were so close to driving the cultists out of Canabras, but it's hard to admit, but those successes didn't count for much once the demons entered the city. On the contrary, if it wasn't for you, there wouldn't be a headquarters at Defender's Heart. The cultists would have served up the city on a platter to the demons. Yes, that's true. It's a good thing we achieved something. Thank you. Allow me to ask a few personal questions. Please, but I must warn you, there are some things I don't have the right to discuss. Where are you from? I was born in Canabras. I grew up on a farm just outside it, but my way back home lay at the end of a long and winding road. It took me years of traveling through foreign lands before I came to be where I've always belonged. How did you become a paladin? I don't much like to remember it, believe it or not. The story of how I became a paladin is also the story of how I failed to become a knight. My parents were crusaders, may their souls stand together in Iomeda's celestial army. When I was born, they retired from the war and started preparing me to continue their legacy. But my father was an orc. You'd be pressed to find a calmer, wiser, and more pious servant of the goddess than he. But still, all his life, he was dogged by sideways looks and whispers. When I grew older, and it was time for me to serve, I decided anywhere but Canabras. That was where my father had served loyally, and his only reward had been injustice. Besides, the witch hunters, led by the Honorable Prelate Hulrun, stalked the city with a heavy hand. Who knows what they'd have done with a strange girl with green skin? Instead, I went to... You can laugh if you want, but I was young and foolish. I chose Lastwall of all places. You can imagine how well I was accepted in a country that's been battling the orcs of Belksin since its foundation. There were many there like me, but we were all treated as second-class citizens. To the locals, my green skin was worse than leper scabs. Even my brothers in faith kept their distance. I took my vows, and the goddess granted me the powers of a paladin, but even then, not a single order would accept me into their ranks. I spent another 6 months knocking on doors before I realized a simple truth. I serve Iomade, not these people. I don't have to prostrate myself before them. So I left, as a paladin, but not a knight. I'm sure you can imagine what it's like. In most places, Tieflings are despised even more than half-orcs. How'd you come to join a knightly order? I left Lastwall and went traveling. The goddess guided me, and my path led me to where atrocities were happening. I often fought in exchange for gold, but never for unworthy aims, of course. I wandered the river kingdoms for a few years, killing monsters and tracking down criminals. Sometimes I thought I was just wasting time and that my true place was in Canabras, but I pushed those thoughts away. I don't even want to think about going back, but in the end, divine providence had brought me to my senses. It happened in Taimon. I was tracking a gang of bandits, which my employer suspected was a cover for Razmirian spies. I managed to find their lair, but inside I found something far more dangerous than spies. An unholy temple to Zon Kuthon. When I broke in there, the cultists were about to sacrifice someone. The person was destined to become my wife, Anevia, but that's another story. After I cut down the cultists, I examined their papers and couldn't believe my eyes. A network of evil cults had spread through all of Avestan, including Mendev. Worse, the documents clearly showed that their allies, the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth, had infested my native Canabras and were even among the ranks of the Paladins. After that, delaying my homecoming would be tantamount to desertion. Luckily, I was no longer alone. Anevia was as eager to destroy the cultists as I was. Anevia and I hurried to Canabras. We couldn't trust anyone. The papers indicated that the cultists had infiltrated everything. Luckily, I had some experience in investigation, and my beloved, she knew her way around working locks, tailing people, and trading information with the city's bottom feeders. Soon we defeated, alas not the whole Hydra, but a few of its heads. Do you know who turned out to be the leader of the cultists? The commander of the Eagle Watch. Can you imagine? While Prelate Hulrun was chasing witches through the city, the enemy had infiltrated the very order responsible for internal security. The scandal reached the ears of the Queen. At first she planned to disband the order in disgrace, but then she offered its command to me, and put its salvation in my hands. Of course, there was one small catch. I wasn't a knight, but I was made commander just the same, skipping the usual progression through the ranks. How did people of Canabras feel about your background? They tolerated it surprisingly well. I shouldn't have been so wary. Crusaders don't tend to be prejudiced as a rule. After all, heroes from all over the world, even from other continents, come here to fight the demons. Apparently, the people were only suspicious of full-blooded orcs. There were already many like me here, and we don't have any problems. Though the locals do have their superstitions, Mendiv is as merciless as Lastwall. They just have a different set of victims. I kept seeing those same sideways looks and scowls, hearing the familiar whispers, but where they once used to whisper behind my back and point at me, now they whisper in my ear and point at someone else. It's so strange to be on the other side of humiliation, to wipe the spit from your face and suddenly be invited to change position and spit at someone else. You must have figured out by now that I'm talking about Tieflings. It's true there are many of them among the cultists and few among our crusaders, and our fighters do all they can to drive away those who would be our allies. People shun them, call them Aurilu's spawn or worse, as if they chose to be born like that. I believe it's quite a feat to rise against the call of one's blood and join the forces of good. Still, most only see them as the enemy. I once saw a knight bleeding to death because he wouldn't let a tiefling priest touch his wound. Alas, I haven't been able to change this in all my time in Canabras. Perhaps you will. I hope your example will show others of your kind that they are needed here. Perhaps looking at you, even some of the cultists will see that birth does not consign you to a life in the service of evil. Tell me about Anevia. We met in Timon, as I was wandering aimlessly from one ordeal to another. We returned to Canabras together to expose the Templars of the Ivory Labyrinth. The day the Queen knighted me was the second happiest day of my life. The first was the day of our wedding. But Anevia isn't just my beloved. She's my staunchest ally. We share every victory and defeat. The best of me is alive thanks to her. Thank you for saving her back then, the day Canabras fell. Before her return, the only thing giving me the strength to protect the Defender's heart was the hope that I'd see her again. We are both in your debt. Thank you for your answers. There's a Tiefling chained up in the Defender's heart. What can you tell me about him? Woljif is a petty thief from a gang of Thieflings, operating in Canabras. That's what we call them in these parts. They tried to rob a vendor of magical items recently. Unfortunately, we apprehended only one of them, and the rest managed to escape. We have nowhere else to keep him apart from the Defender's heart, but that's hardly a prison. Woljif knows it too. He's been begging us for days to let him go free or have someone vouch for him. He's already asked you to put in a good word for him, hasn't he? If you want to recruit Woljif and put him to good use, go ahead and take him off our guards' hands. We can ill afford to let a soldier spend their days watching over a middling thief. I hope the Tiefling proves useful should you decide to take him along. I have to go. Go. May Iomedae keep you safe. And just to our south, we have Sela. Hey there. During that march through the dungeon, we never got the chance to exchange a proper greeting. It's high time I shake your hand. I'd like to know more about you. Of course, ask anything. I'll answer honestly. Tell me about yourself. Where are you from? I'm a little bit from Geb, a little bit from Katapesh, but mostly from the Knights of Iomedae. I was accepted and began my training at 14. I belong to their ranks more than I belong to any other place. You've come to Mendiv by a long road, haven't you? A very long one. A traveler is expected to have amusing stories. Unfortunately, I have only 3 tales of any interest, and I'd like to save them for our next feast. Otherwise, I won't have anything to show for myself when it's time to start bragging. And that just won't do. Especially since I'll win the night with my cautionary tale of a battle with chupacabras. You can't tempt me with a story about fighting chupacabras and then not follow through. What are chupacabras, by the way? Incredibly repulsive magic beasts, fast and dangerous. They can... Well, it looks like someone's fooled me into starting the tale. I guess now I'll have to tell the whole story. Picture a small town in Kadira, and down in the dungeon there's 2 murderers, waiting to be executed. The gallows are already built for them. The rope's been bought. But sometimes life takes a surprising turn. Suddenly, a paladin of Iomedae appears in the doorway and offers the murderers a deal. If they go with her to fight some monsters, they live. If they survive, that is. There's a big difference between imminent death and probable death with a glimmer of hope. Wouldn't you say? So here we are, traveling through the desert, me and my friend, a priestess of Sarenrae, along with the little ratfolk fellow who'd asked for our help, and the 2 cutthroats. We get to the ratfolk village and saw their bodies lying around, all drained dry. we figured we'd have to fight vampires. That's how the little rat folk described the monsters who attacked their village. That's why we went in all brazen-like. The sun was high and the vampires couldn't attack until dusk. But we never got a chance to look around. Black shadows, quick as the wind, attacked us from all sides. Not vampires, but chupacabras. One of the lads we pulled from the gallows got killed right away. The second one ran for his life. That left me, the rat folk, and Kyra. That was the name of the priestess. And we all steeled ourselves for the fight of our lives. And just when we thought the end had come, with the chupacabras surrounding me like a pack of dogs around a bear, and our rat folk friend wounded and down, and the teeth of the quickest of those blasted monsters was clenched on Kyra's shoulder. Right then, when all hope was lost, the other lad from the gallows suddenly comes running back. He kills the beast attacking Kyra. I'm sure you know what a turning point in a fight looks like. Well, this was it. A moment before, we were lost, and a moment later, we had it back under control. The chupacabras dropped dead one by one. The little rat folk is reunited with his family, who were hiding in the basement. The priestess and I closed the eyes of that boy from the gallows who saved us. It was a shame he didn't survive the fight. May the gods keep his soul in its journey through the afterlife. That's a good story. He could have died in disgrace on the gallows, but instead he died a hero. And I'd fancy the stunt earned him some points at his final judgment. It's smart to remember our journey doesn't end in death. Had it not been for that mercy, Milosh, that was his name, would be hanging from a noose, and me, Kyra, and the rat folk would be dead in that village. Someone told me that a kind deed done by an unkind person is 100 times more precious. By the same token, an evil deed done by a noble soul is 100 times more horrifying. That's really what I wanted to say. The chupacabras were just a good starting point. What made you become a paladin of Iomade? That's a serious question and a good one. You should ask it of your companions, but it's a long story. To start with, 12 years ago I was nothing like the person I am now. I roamed the streets of Solku with the other homeless orphans. I stole, I fought. I was a hired sword for a bit. Not the proper origin for a paladin, is it? Back then, Solku was a city of orphans, widows and widowers. Gnolls decimated the city regularly. My parents were among their victims. People there heard about new deaths before they'd finished mourning their previous losses. One day, a group of knights of Iomade brought a glimmer of hope to the city. But while others saw them as saviors and protectors, I was busy pricing up their noble horses and their gleaming mithril armor, wondering just how much one of their pretty swords would fetch. Haha. A thief lives one day at a time, that's what they say. I was the type that never thought past the next job. Anyhow, I was able to sneak into the knight's camp and steal one of their mithril helms. And I was right there when a gnoll attacked the helm's owner. Alchemy, that was her name, and dealt a blow to her unprotected head. A gnoll like all those others she'd fearlessly driven from the gates of Solku. That one blow was fatal, but who was really to blame for her death? The gnoll attacker, or the young thief named Sela? We'll choose a lawful option. Even a seemingly small misdeed can have terrible consequences. Yes, you're right 1,000 times over. I hate to say it, but I just didn't see it back then. And if I had never got that lesson, my eyes would probably never have been opened. Who knows what would have happened to me if it wasn't for Alchemy and her bravery, and her death. Maybe the world would know Sela as a bandit, not as a knight and protector of those in need. There's a saying I like to remember. People rarely find redemption on their own. Someone must show them the way. But you are asking what brought me into the ranks of Iomade's warriors. We all choose the paladin's path for our own reasons. Some are guided by nobility of spirit, some by desire to fight injustice. I became who I am through penance and a debt unpaid. The day Alchemy died protecting my city, I wanted to kill myself for the terrible guilt I felt. But then I realized it wouldn't make the world any better, and I decided that instead, I'd try to take her place. I'd become who she had been, and protect the innocents that she would no longer be able to protect. Thank you, I've learned everything I wanted to know. We're going to skip through a little bit here. We really need to get this one before we go out so that we can get an update to that quest. Irabeth said your friend, Janna Adori, is missing. Do you know where we should look for her? Irabeth is worried about her fighters. I understand that. I wanted to look for Janna myself, so I didn't distract you, but since you're in this too, I could use some help. Janna and I met in Canabras a few days ago and just hit it off. We went drinking together, we went to that unforgettable celebration together too, but we got separated in a crowd. So we should start looking from the main square. That's where I last saw her. Janna's a good fighter, even if she is green. She couldn't have become an Aldori otherwise. I hope that means she's alright. Thank you for speaking with me. Until next time. See ya. Alright, we're going to speak with Anevia, and then we'll go grab Woljif. Oh hey, see how they patched me up? Now I can run, jump, or dance a jig if I feel like it. Well, Anevia, are there any suspicious places in the city that I should pay attention to? There were a couple spots I wanted to check out, but I didn't have time. If there really is a den of cultists there, it would be good if you could swoop in there and bust some heads. You don't even need a search warrant. First one is the Silken Thread. It's a funny little tailor shop that doesn't take any orders and never buys any fabric. But they always seem oh so busy. They're busy with something in there, alright, but sewing ain't. Second one is the Alchemy shop, Topaz Solutions. And they trade in everything, not just healing potions. Judging by the ingredients they've been buying on the black market, there's something fishy about the alchemical rituals going down in that place. Alright, Anevia, I have to go. Alright, you watch yourself now.
Well, Chief, what do you got for me?
I talked to Irabeth, and I've decided to make you part of my troop. We'll see how it goes.
You must be a smooth talker. Come on, Delvin. Get these bracelets of yours off me. I'm going free.
You're sure to regret this. This tiefling will fleece you for everything you've got. Mark my words.
You're a bitter little man, Delvin. Petty and mean. You can't even be happy for me, can you? I pity you. I'll leave you alone with your sad little soul. So long. And now, Chief, straight down to business. You see, I'm one of those guys that people around here call Thieflings. We just call ourselves the family. After we knocked over that shop and I got stuck here in the Defender's Heart, a little bird told me that big sister Charisme wanted to see me. That she had some questions to ask me. You following? Now, she won't be asking me questions like, Woljif, how'd you manage to get out of this one? Or, Woljif, you're so thin, didn't they feed you? No, something serious has gone down, and I just know they want to try to pin something on me. I can feel it in my tail. So, I knew right away that I couldn't go alone. You turned up just in time, Chief. You don't need to do anything when we get there. Just stand behind me and look mean, and I'll handle the rest. Somehow. Let's go, I'll show you the way.
And one extra companion is added to our party. So what we are going to do first here, out of the options that we have, is do everything to the north of us. So the first one will be Woljif's quest about going to the Thieflings' hideout and speaking with them. I should probably grab this loot real quick. Oh, did I talk to Thorn? I'm already forgetting who we have and have not talked to. I am Thorn Autumn Haze at your service. Who are you? My name is Thorn Autumn Haze. I've come here from Keonan because I am a hunter, and all meanings of evil are my quarry. I won't say any more than that, if you don't mind. We are strangers, and of different races and cultures. I'd rather not tell you more than is necessary. Well, do you need some help? Do not trouble yourself on my behalf. A local healer tended to me. Besides, I come from a resilient, hardy people. My body will endure both the wounds and the poison delivered to them. Who wounded you? A sinner and an accomplice to demons. The quarry I am hunting in this inhospitable place. Well, I'm Hack. You can trust me. I might be able to help you. It would be impolite to refuse such a direct and friendly offer. I'd like to know more about you. I won't hold anything back, not who I am, why I made my way here, or who it is that I'm pursuing. Tell me more about yourself. Other peoples tend to believe that identity is the sum of a person's actions and the events that happen to them. For them, I am one of a long line of warriors of Keonan, who, since his youth, has dedicated himself to hunting evil and injustice. For them, I am a successful and capable huntsman who has tracked down and slain a great many monsters. But I am an elf, and for me, my identity has a different meaning. It is shaped by the place where I was born and that I love so deeply. I am shaped by what I find beautiful and what makes my heart quicken. By the fears that come to me in the dead of night, by the things I find so intolerable that at the sight of them, my very core darkens and fills with poison. Thus, to tell you who I am, I would require many days and much candor, which is more than you and I have at our disposal. Why did you choose to be a hunter of evil? Because I am the son of a noble and proud nation. We are sometimes criticized for our arrogance, but no one dares doubt our honor. When a crime is committed, we cannot turn a blind eye. If we were to abandon our obligations to oppose evil, if we were to surrender this obligation to other races, we would also relinquish our preeminence. I have no more questions. Who is your quarry here in Mendev? I was hunting a fugitive, a Descarite by the name of Kylesa. It pains me to admit that there are heinous malefactors such as her among my noble kin. I managed to catch up to her in Canabras and I wounded her. Then demons appeared and the city was engulfed in flames. I was injured in the battle that ensued and couldn't free her soul from its service to her dark masters. I'm so sorry for your misfortune. I hope things will turn out differently next time. There is no need for pity. Our ancient kind is blessed with a great longevity. We gain a deeper understanding of the world than other races, and we learn our lessons better than anyone. That goes for learning from our mistakes as well. I survived, which means I will be more prepared when next we meet. Well, I wish to aid you in your hunt. I thank you, but this is my mission, and I'm used to facing all manner of terrors on my own. I do appreciate your willingness to help. If you happen to meet Kaelessa, take caution. She has turned many innocent souls to the path of evil, and darkness has rewarded her with many gifts. Her appearance alone will tell you that it is warped. The agate skin, the malicious stare of her blood-red eyes, the bestial teeth. She's more monster than elf at this point. And we could take a knowledge check, but we would need to roll a 20, so we're not going to do that right now. I have to go. Good fortune to us.
Tread lightly.
We are going to grab just a couple pieces, or a couple pieces of loot here around the this yard. And have one more conversation while we're out here. So our last conversation is going to be Staunton's brother Joran, who is standing... Oh, come on. Who is standing right over here. A new face in the city. You picked a good time to come to Canabras. As you can see, we're in sore need of warriors. Do you know everyone in Canabras by sight? Well, not everyone, but I make it my business to know the people who might need my services. A blacksmith's work isn't just at the anvil, you know. We've got a few of your kind here in the city. I'll be honest with you, you won't last long here. By hook or crook, Tieflings are run out of the city, even if they be thrice-blessed paladins. It's shameful. Are you Staunton Vane's brother? Yep. Where he goes, I go. That's how we've always done it, even before the world wound. I forge the armor, he goes into battle and breaks it. He brings it back to me, and I repair it, and make it better than before. Everything's changed since then, of course, but that part has stayed the same. How was Staunton to blame for the fall of Dresden? I've told this story so many times already. Well, telling it one more time won't kill me. Dresden was built after the First Crusade, back when it seemed like victory was ours for the taking and that the demon invasion would soon be at an end. The population of Old Sarkoris was thoroughly diminished, and many of them hoped to see their hard fighting repaid with a small plot of unclaimed land. Dresden was a fortress built on all our hopes, and on Mendev's ambitions, though you're not supposed to say that out loud. What a city it was. You can't even imagine. It was built by the finest engineers from the Five Kings Mountains. Queen Galfrey spared no expense. Dresden was meant to be the capital of the Crusade movement, a monument to its glory and a beacon of hope for all of Galarian. Heroes were drawn there to seek fame and glory, and they came from all over. Kaldor, Garund, Tianxia, I couldn't list them all. A relic known as the Sword of Valor was kept there, the banner that had been carried into battle by Iomade herself back when she was still a human. That banner protected the city and kept the demons from teleporting inside its walls. As long as the banner was in place, Dresden was invincible. Or so we thought. But then the world wound suddenly expanded. The demons launched a new onslaught, and folks started saying it was time to declare the Second Crusade. Dresden was unassailable until one young officer was tempted by a beautiful woman. She convinced him that the banner shouldn't be hanging in the city, that its rightful place was out on the battlefield. She whispered honeyed words about glory and valor and convinced him that he could be a hero as great as Iomade herself. And the poor fool believed her. He rounded up some of his hot-headed friends and carried the banner outside the city gates on an unauthorized foray. The demons slaughtered them within seconds, but for some reason the courageous ringleader was spared. A whole army teleported into Dresden. It was a bloodbath. As you can guess, that officer was called Staunton Bane, and the woman turned out to be a demon. Not just any demon. It was Minago, that foul wretch. She's given us a lot of grief here in Canabras, too. Just don't ask me what I was doing while my brother was off having trysts with that beast, and why I didn't save him from his own stupidity. Who could have guessed it would end like this? I failed my brother, that's the truth. I blame myself every day, looking at his plight. So that's the story. Why do you have your forge here in the tavern yard? Wherever I am, that's where my forge is. A true master of any craft will always find tools that they need. I miss my old forge, of course. It's just a pile of charged stone and metal. But I've got my hands, and that means I can work. Show Radiance to Jorn. Do you recognize this sword? Do I recognize it? Of course I do. I made this with my own hands. There's my brand, see? Oh, Yaniel, things have been tough without you, but at least we've still got your sword. That's something. In battle, ordinary swords get blunted. They break. But sometimes a weapon can persevere. I don't even know how to explain it. I am no authority on these things, but something like an echo of the deeds done with that weapon. Or more like the reflection of the wielder's soul. I don't know. I will say one thing. Take care of that sword. Yaniel may no longer be with us, but the demons will still remember why they need to turn tail and run when they see Radiance. Ugh, the scabbard's all worn. We can't be having a fine sword like this being carried around in this tatty thing. I'll make you a new one if you like. If the city stands strong and we both survive, come see me again and I'll have it ready. No charge. I have to go. Toreg, watch over you. If you need something from me, don't be afraid to stop by. So, getting that scabbard going was the reason that we really needed to talk to Jorn there. We'll grab one last piece of loot. I think that's all the loot in here, so we'll just get going.
I'm gone.
We're going to include Woldriff in the party. So the only combat this episode will probably just be any random encounters that we run into on the road. It's unlikely because this is going to be more talking up here, and then we'll have some more talking, and by that time the episode will probably be over. However, this is a good place to start when you get to this point in the game, just because it's a lot of talking, and it's a decent amount of experience. So you'll find yourself leveling up very quick with having to do very few fights. And we're off. Here we are, Thiefling Central. Brother Woldriff, you got my message then. Sorry I couldn't swing by sooner, dear Sister Charismay. It was just one thing after another. First I was in shackles, next, well, no, I was still in shackles, and I was being watched. And then the chief got me out, and I came here straight away. I knew you'd been waiting on me. Enough talking or else we'll be here all night. So, we had a clear plan. We were going to wait for nightfall, slip into the shop, grab the goods, and leave. Even if the neighbors called the guard, there was time to get away. But what happened? That bitch Erebeth showed up almost right away. She knew we'd be there. Someone betrayed us. And I have a good idea who it was. What do you have to say to that? Make it quick. Do you think Woldriff knows the name of the traitor? She speaks! I thought Woldriff only brought you so he'd have someone to hide behind if things went south. Yes, he knows the name of the traitor. Every gang that Brother Woldriff has been part of has very quickly come to an end. Their hideout location was passed to the guards, or their competitors found out where they could ambush them. Woljif is the only one who always comes out smelling of roses. If you think about it, you'll come to the same conclusion as us. I'd have said that meant that Woljif was cursed with finding friends among losers and screw-ups, but now that he's with us, that must mean his curse is broken. That depends. He was indeed most fortunate to find himself in a party with me. On the other hand, he also ended up in a party with you. I'm going to go with the lawful option. The burden of proof lies on the accuser. Woljif doesn't have anything to prove. Burden of proof? Are you a city guard or something? I don't know how it is with your lot, but in the family the highest rank is always right. And here, that's me. Canabras is burning. Why are you squabbling here instead of fleeing the city? I'd be glad to leave, like the rest of my brothers and sisters, but in the family there's nothing worse than betrayal, and it's something we do not forgive. We don't forgive anyone who lets traitors off the hook, either. If I don't find the rat, my superiors... Let's just say I'll wish I was burning in Canabras. I want to keep living, so I'm going to take a chance until I find out who the traitor is. No one is leaving. Well, just tell us your side of the story. What happened? What's there to tell? About a week ago, Sister Karasme got 6 of us together in this very basement. Me and those 5 were there. She rounds us up and she says we've got a score. Ancient Trees and Wonders, the one place nobody's ever been able to hit, and the place that's guarded by a golem. But now a powerful scroll that would knock out the golem just happened to come into our possession, along with a tip-off that the shop owner would be gone on a particular night. All 6 of us know a bit of magic, and we know that any enchanted junk will sell for a pretty penny. So we're in. And the most important thing was that none of us was to be hanging around the shop ahead of the job. No casing the place, no calling attention to ourselves from either the golem or its master. This job was top secret. That's all true so far. Go on. We did everything right, with the locks and the golem. I picked the lock, I remember clear as day. Sister Dalna was on lookout, Brother Milroon had the scroll, Daffy, Tabby, and Varnier brought the sacks. We covered the windows and lit the torches. I remember scooping up rings and tossing them in a sack, and one right expensive one rolled away from me. I crawled under a table after it, and the next thing I know, Urbeth was there. Everybody scampered, but I was still under the table. Not my finest moment. I was going to wait it out, but then those blockheads were dragging me out by my tail and put me in shackles. They took all my rings off me, about 20,000 worth. And, to add insult to injury, I never even found that last one. In the end, I got busted over nothing. So they caught you, poor thing, stripped you of your loot, and didn't even manage to stash anything. Where's the Moon of the Abyss, Brother Woljif? What is the Moon of the Abyss? It was an amulet. It used to sit on a little cushion in the window of Ancient Trees and Wonders. Sterling silver, sparkled like a star, fine piece of work. On one side there was a half moon. You know, a crescent? A waning moon, and in the middle there was a dark crystal, like it was eclipsing the moon. Old man Philemon was so proud of that amulet he used to say, "I'll never sell it. It's the jewel of my collection." I used to go there to see what kinds of treasure there were in the world. There's nothing else to look at in Canabras. People used to claim it was a powerful thing. But who's to say? If you ever stole a thing like that, you'd have the guards on you the second you tried to fence it. Everybody knew that you were always hanging around Ancient Trees and Wonders, drooling over the Moon of the Abyss. Did you think you could swipe it in all the commotion and keep it for yourself? Did you hope that we'd all be locked up and you'd get off scot-free and with a fancy trinket to boot? Don't take me for a mug, Woljif. I see right through you. Why would Erebeth arrest her own informant? Took the words right out of my mouth. It doesn't make any sense. If I was the rat, I'd have kissed her on the hand and been long gone by now. You know me, sister. I'm a cautious fellow, not an idiot. Why would I go against the family? So the fish in the cellar can have a nice Woljif-sized dinner? The Moon of the Abyss is a pretty bauble, to be sure, but it's just an amulet. Ain't worth dying over. You knew Erebeth's people would protect you. You knew you could pin the moon going missing on them. And now you've come here with backup. You knew exactly what I was going to say to you. Only problem is, nobody's returned the amulet to Philemon. Are you giving Erebeth a cut? Is that it? Have you seen her? Do you think she'd take a cut of anything I offered her? She can't be bought. She's like 3 heralds of Iomade all rolled into one. He speaks the truth. You'll find some knights who will take bribes, I'm sorry to say it, but Erebeth Tirabade is not one of them. Go on, Woljif. That's the whole story, sorry. Some family this turned out to be. It's just a name in the end. In a real family, people take each other at their word. They don't throw around accusations. I didn't take the Moon of the Abyss. What am I going to do with it? You can't sell it to no crusaders. It's a special item. You can't wear it. It'll get nicked. It's pretty to look at, sure, but it ain't that pretty. If it's that important to you, Sister Charisma, I'll find it, and I'll drag the trader here by his horns, just so you don't end up at the bottom of the cellar. But do you know what you're going to owe me for that? An apology. Right here, in front of everyone. You're going to apologize loud and clear so everyone hears it. You'll say, "Sorry, Woljif, you're a good guy, and I was wrong about you." Fine. You're one of my people, which is why I'm going to give you some time. But if you run, Brother Woljif, the family will get you wherever you go. You'll spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, tossing and turning at night, fearing poison in every cup and every meal. You'll look into the eye of every tiefling you meet, wondering if the family's come for you. You'll have no peace. But one day, you'll be tired of running. You'll stop to catch your breath, and that's when we'll get you. Got that? You have a way with words, Sister Charisma. A way that almost made me wet myself, but a way nonetheless. Let's go, Chief. We'll go chat to that scary gal, Irbeth. She knows you a little, and we can ask her who ratted us out. I'll let you do the talking. We'll find the real traitor. And I'll get my apology. Onward to Irbeth, Chief. Let's clear my good name. Root out the traitor, but be quick about it. Time's running out. I don't want to get chewed up by demons. Let's grab some stuff in here.
Follow my steps.
And then for the time being, we are all done. So we'll head back towards... Oh, actually, while we're here, let's take a look at our formation because it's going to have changed. It put Woljif up at the front. I don't really want that. Let's drop him back there. We'll put the elephant back up there, and we'll put the dog in the middle. Then we'll take a quick look at their bars. So she received lay on hands, other, and lay on hands self. I'm just going to move those to the end here because they're heals, easy to use over there.
We should prepare.
I didn't really get anything different here. I was able to adjust the bar earlier.
You can trust me.
There's nothing new currently on here because we haven't selected new level 2 spells for her to memorize at this time.
Are we in trouble yet?
Also nothing for Lan at this level to change. We'll skip Woljif for just a moment. The dog, we want to do that. We don't have to change anything in his bar, though.
I'm here. Where else would I be?
And Woljif's bar, of course, is just, we're setting it up from scratch. So we're going to throw acrobatics and defensive down there. He is currently a melee combatant, so we'll give him charge and coup de grace. These are the spells that he has memorized right now, but we're going to change those before we sleep. So we'll update them after we change them. The other thing that we just received that is interesting, or of interest, are these lockpicks kit, which give us a +1 bonus to all trickery checks. So we'll just toss those in there. She has the highest trickery currently. Now it's 1 higher. We're going to steal Woljif's scrolls. And we're off.
Let's head out.
Alright, now we are going to head back to Defender's Heart. And we're going to have 2 conversations once we get back here. Again, there is a time component, which is why we didn't rest and get our spells back. We're not going to do that actually until we start heading south to Market Square. None of these random fights are going to require us to have updated spells, though.
Yet another obstacle.
So what do you got here? We got 2 archers. I'm not even going to change anything. I haven't had any luck checking these random encounter locations for anything hidden. I guess by that I just mean I haven't found anything hidden in any of the random locations, just the pre-built locations. Alright, we're back. So one of the things that I like to do in these locations is I like to sell all of my junk to the same merchant. Just because it does tend to clog up their inventory, and it's easier to look through the other merchants when all of your junk is at the same one. So we're going to go ahead and dump all of the stuff that we have that we're not going to use. Alright, that's going to be all the time we have for today, so we are going to cut it a bit short here. However, please stay tuned for next episode where we do a little bit more talking and then get into some real fighting. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, all the normal YouTube things, and we will see you next time.